So with this constructor in place, we can no longer create a rectangle object without a width and a height. If we try to do so, we get a compilation error saying no matching constructor for initialization of rectangle. But what if you want to create a rectangle without an initial width and a height? Well, we can go back to our class declaration and declare a default constructor. A default constructor is a constructor with no parameters. So we can declare another constructor here with no parameters. So note that just like functions, we can also overload constructors. So here we have two constructors with different signatures. Okay. Now let's generate the definition for this constructor. Good. Now the body of this constructor is going to be empty. There is nothing we need to do here. We don't even need to initialize the width and the height to 0 because we initialized these member variables in our class declaration, right? So the body of this constructor is going to be empty. And while this approach is totally fine, in modern C++, we have a better way to create a default constructor. We can remove the constructor definition. Then we go back to our class declaration. And up here, we set this constructor to the default keyword. So we're telling the compiler to generate a default constructor for us. And with this, we can go back to our main file and create a rectangle without initial values. Now, there is something interesting you need to know here. The C++ compiler automatically generates a default constructor for every class unless we provide a constructor. And that is the reason why earlier, before we defined this constructor, we could create instances of the rectangle class without initial values. So if we comment out these two lines, the compiler is going to automatically generate a default constructor for us. And now we can create a rectangle without initial values. But the moment we define a constructor, the compiler stops generating a default constructor for us. And that is why we get this error over here. So to solve this problem, we need to tell the compiler to generate that default constructor for us.